This week on the Road with Mickey, our top 3 Star Wars movies.
We're on the road with Mickey, we're gonna have some fun. Regardless of the rain or sun, our trip has just begun. So buckle up, let's go. We're about to start the show. And maybe if you like us, you'll see where else we'll go.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike, and she's Sophie.
And Brenda is somewhere else again.
Yep, and he's Grogu.
He says, "May the force be with you." This is his episode.
Exactly. This is his episode. He is in his element, and he is ready to tell you about every single cameo he made in all the episodes of Mandalorian. He's going to say, I did this, I did that, right?
Yes, he is. Look how excited he is.
And we are on the road with Mickey. This is episode 267 for May 26, 2025. And our feature topic is our top 3 Star Wars movies. Now, Sophie mentioned Brenda is not here.
No, she is
But
not.
but she is busy living her best life.
Wish I was there.
Well, yeah. But she and Butch and their family are having a wonderful time, and Brenda graced us with some karaoke video, and we want to share it with you because not only is she living her best life, she's living her best karaoke life. Let's face facts.
Yeah. So it wasn't just karaoke, it was specifically finish the lyrics.
Yeah.
So she won, by the way, she won.
Yeah.
But the goal was not to just sing the song, but to sing the song without anything else, and she blew it out of the water.
Yeah. So have a listen to this video.
Friend, you know. Okay. Miss Brenda, for you I have this song by Cher. Oh, it's a classic by Cher. Here we go. DJ Taco, take it away. Come on, go ahead. Here we go.
Wasn't that an awesome video, Sophie?
Oh my gosh, she did so well.
Way to go, Brenda. That's why you're
Well
our rock
done.
star. You well
And you'll
done.
have to show us the prize that you won as well when you get back.
That's right. But golly, this is why Brenda is the one who carries the show.
She does.
She does.
We would be lost without her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good thing we have Grogu.
Good thing we have Grogu, or I mean, no one would tune in if Grogu wasn't here. They'd be like,
No.
Sophie is awesome, Mike, whatever. He just hits record. Anyway, let's get into our featured topic. But first, we have a little bit of cheddar from the big cheese. So, Sophie, you start us off.
My cheddar is actually not from the big cheese, that being Disney. You could say that my cheddar is from the other park in the Orlando area, and it is some huge news, by the way. This past Thursday, May 22nd, the long-awaited opening for Epic Universe occurred. They have been doing soft openings for a while now where you can request early access and whatnot if you are already visiting the Universal Orlando Resort. But now it is open to everyone. It is open to the general public. And Daddy's bosses, Miss Lisa and Mr. Steve, were there, and they looked like they were having a great time. So my question is, why am I not there?
Because you haven't booked your trip yet.
Okay, that's fair. I will book my trip after this upcoming one.
Yeah. And Also epic news, but from the Disney side. I want to send out kudos to Jeff Valley, the president of the Walt Disney World Resort, on congratulating Universal Orlando for the opening of Epic Universe. He wrote on Instagram, and I quote, "It takes great passion and dedication to bring new projects to life. Best of luck to the Universal Orlando team with the opening of Epic Universe. It is another big win for tourism in Florida." End quote. That is really, really respectful praise. And way to go, Jeff,
Yeah.
for posting that, because you know there's talk about how they compete and they compete, but really it's tourism. It's Central Florida. There's room for everyone, and I think this is big mark. So way to go.
Yeah.
So I had to share it. When you see something positive out there in the internet, you got to share it, and that's why I wanted to share that.
Mhm.
Well, that's our cheddar from today. We don't have any bonus. We don't have any bonus cheddar that Brenda would have shared. But anyway, what we do have is our links on how you can connect with us. We've got the Facebook page, On the Road with Mickey. We have the Facebook group, On the Road with Mickey group. We have the YouTube channel, which is also On the Road with Mickey. Hello, YouTubers. Thank you for
Hello.
watching.
Hello there.
We have our own Instagram channel, which is On the Road with Mickey. And pretty much everything that gets posted on the road with Mickey on that channel is from when I post the posts each week, Sophie, for the previous episode. So like the cover image of every one of those is what's shown on Instagram.
You do better than I do with Instagram, Daddy.
Yeah, and that's an automated thing, so I can't really take a whole lot of credit.
Mm.
Then we have our email address. If you want to email us, you can do so at info@ontheroadwithmickey.com, or you can go to our website, ontheroadwithmickey.com, and you can see everything gathered there. So, all right. Well, it is time for our feature topic, our top 3 Star Wars movies. And I gave this a lot of thought, at least 5 minutes worth of thought here, people.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I've given it a little bit more than that. I'm curious to see what yours are, Daddy, as if they're not written there in plain view for me to look at. Who's going first?
Well, you're first on the list, so you go first.
All right, then. That's fine. There are a couple, well, not a couple, there is one overlapping Star Wars movie that me and my dad have because, again, they're written down. We can see who chose what.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going in any specific ranking. I don't know if my daddy is going in any specific ranking, but I chose to go in chronological order instead, as in when the events took place. And
Not when they were released.
correct.
Okay.
And I have to say, my chronological order makes up this one segment of the Star Wars story, and it starts with Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now, the year is infamous in the Star Wars timeline. The year is 19 BBY, and for those of you who know what that means, kudos to you. My dad does not.
Before the Battle of Yavin?
Yavin. Close enough.
Yavin.
He
Close
only
enough.
knows because I told him.
Yeah, like 100 times, and that's the only reason I remember. And
Yes.
I didn't quite get it right then either.
And what happens at the Battle of Yavin, Daddy?
Isn't that so? Let's see here. That's when the Death Star explodes, when they kill the Death Star. Isn't
The
that
first one, yes. Very good.
okay? So that's A New Hope.
Yes.
Okay.
And
That's not
this,
Return of the Jedi, when it's the second one and
no,
the Emperor is gotten rid of.
correct. So
Okay.
that's my basic time block there. My favorite point of the story is those 19 years. So we start in 19 BBY. Um, you have Anakin, you have
Hmm.
Padme. They're married in secret. It's all Romeo and Juliet. It's great. And Padme finds out that she's pregnant.
Yes.
And Anakin, as any good father should be, is excited to be a dad.
Hmm.
He's a very good father, at least right now, but he's being plagued with these dreams that Padme and the children may die in childbirth. Well, Padme will die in childbirth. We don't know about the child. He doesn't know about the child, and he is distraught. So naturally, he confides in his mentor, the amazing Chancellor Palpatine, unknowing that said chancellor is actually the one who is orchestrating the death of his wife. And hijinks ensue. Anakin is tempted by the dark side, as we all know. He avenges the death of his mother like a good son. He tries to save Padme, it does not work. And that is the culmination of the past two movies plus this one combined into the tragedy that we always knew was going to happen, but we were still hoping it wouldn't, where Anakin turns to the dark side and becomes Darth Vader after the battle on Mustafar with Obi-Wan Kenobi, who, by the way, looks the best he's ever looked in this specific movie. This is when Obi-Wan Kenobi reached his peak.
Man crush, it sounds like. Obi-Wan crush.
Can you blame me?
No. No.
Daddy, there's a running joke going around that there was a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi from the second movie where his hair was long and reached down to his shoulders. There's a running joke going around the internet that someone took that picture and they thought it was Jesus. Okay? They marketed it as a portrait of Jesus, and everyone was like, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh
It's very,
no.
very funny.
That is funny. So, all right. Well, that is a very good portrayal of episode 3, Revenge of the
Yes,
Sith.
yes, it is. It is Sophie's emotionally un emotionally immature summary of Revenge of the Sith.
Mhm. Yeah. So, for me, I'm taking us back one episode to episode 2. That is my first one in my list, and mine are also in order of how they appear in the movie listing. So,
Okay.
episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now, I have Attack of the Clones listed because in my mind, the drama that surrounds that movie is just phenomenal. You've got the assassination attempt on Padme. You have going out to the what was the name of the world where they're doing the clones?
No, that's the world of the clones was Camino.
Camino, right, which comes back in Bad Batch.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's where the Caminoans live.
yeah. So going to Camino to do that, going to investigate to find the assassin attempt, to find the who sent the assassin, going to
That was on Geonosis.
yeah, but and then the changeling and the
Yeah.
shapeshifter and
Yep.
just all those elements and just how they are like whoa, and it's just the drama, the fight scene, the attack, the battle with the clone army,
Mm-hmm.
and that scene with Yoda and the others on the battle on the like the lander or whatever, the troop carrier, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
that. I
That
mean,
was on
it's just
Geonosis.
that is just phenomenal storytelling. And
It
so
is.
for me, that is just a really awesome bit of what's going on. But that is also when Padme and Anakin
Fall in
start
love.
their romance. They're falling in love. So
Excellent thing that it didn't start in episode 1.
very very excellent because he was like 15
9.
years younger. Yeah, feels like it
Mm.
anyway. But the funny thing is, we talked about this, mommy and I did, Sophie, and
Oh.
we're like the disconnect with him being a child in episode 1 and then being like it's like they're the same age in episode 2, and that's one of the drawbacks that mommy had with it.
Yeah. So,
But I have a theory on that, and
mhm.
and I have no idea if it's correct or not, and it doesn't really matter. It's just a theory. But in my mind, I feel like the force of him getting into the force and learning all he's learning as a Padawan before he becomes a Jedi and everything like that, I feel like that grew him physically and strong and everything like that to where they look closer in age. Just a thought of mine.
So I will say this. I did a little bit of research a while back. Turns out Padme in episode 1 was actually only 14. So she's
Hmm.
only about 5 years older than Anakin was.
Okay.
She's actually one of the youngest queens to be elected on the planet of Naboo. And so my guess is, actually, hang on, let me look this up. Okay,
Uh,
yeah, so The Phantom Menace takes place 32 BBY. Star Wars Attack of the Clones takes place 22 BBY. So there's that 10-year difference. So she's 24 and Anakin is 19.
okay.
So that's that. I don't mean
Okay.
to shoot down your theory, but
Okay. But
yeah.
he did really grow into himself in those 10 years,
Oh, certainly. And of
stature
course,
wise.
and of course there's also the implication that even though he's 9 years old, he was living on Tatooine where food was very scarce, and so he was malnourished, and that's why he looked to be even younger. Because let's be real, he looked like he was 6 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's that.
All right. So
All right.
that is the first one on my list of my top 3 Star Wars movies. What's
Okay.
next for you, Sophie?
Do you want to talk about Revenge of the Sith, though, so that we're on the same page, kind of?
No, I'll get to there. You go next and then I'll
Okay,
talk
then.
about it next. Yeah.
Well, once again, we're continuing with that specific 19-year block of time, and I'm actually taking us out of the original trilogy and out of the prequel trilogy. I'm taking us to a spot that's slightly in between. And that spot is right before episode 4 to a Star Wars story called Rogue One. The year is once again 0 ABY, so right before the Battle of Yavin, but not quite. So it's like literally it just is very, very
Months.
close. Yeah, months pretty much. Um, we learn of a girl named Jyn Erso, and her father was an engineer for the Empire. He was forced into this line of work, and it's really meant to highlight, once again, the Empire's immorality, so to speak, the Empire's evilness, that even those who are considered to have good ranks inside this hierarchy, they are mistreated. In fact, they are so mistreated that Galen Erso, this engineer who was forced to work on the first Death Star, he knew that what he was doing was wrong, and so he secretly found a way to destroy it all. And it follows the story of his daughter being basically recruited into the rebellion to help fight this evil empire because of her father. She finds the secret he left for her, and that is the key to the whole rest of the rebellion right there.
Yeah.
Without her, without him, if if he had not done this, the rebellion probably would have been lost.
Hmm.
But it's thanks to him and his love for his daughter and his strong moral code that he helped her to help the rebellion, to defeat the Empire and blow up the Death Star, even though it cost her and many others their lives.
Yeah.
And Rogue One it does not have a happy ending, but it does lead to a new hope.
And isn't it amazing? This is coming from the other side of it in a little bit, but
Yeah.
the other side of it is in A New Hope when they're talking about attacking the Death Star to destroy it.
Yeah.
And there's one line, and I don't remember the exact wording, but there's one line that the admiral or the general or whoever says, and says basically how the plans for this Death Star came to us at great cost or something like that.
Yep.
It's like one line, and that one line in that movie led to the whole backstory of Rogue One.
I mean, yeah,
Because you wouldn't have known, but
you
one line in
wouldn't.
a movie led to them saying, "You know what? We've got this unanswered question.
How on
Let's
earth did they get the plans?
yeah." And that isn't that just fascinating how that works, you
It
know?
is. And it feels like something that's always been part of this narrative.
Right. And I don't know that it
And
was.
maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Maybe it was.
George
I don't know.
Lucas was a genius, let's be real.
Yeah, still is.
Yeah, he
Um,
is.
but anyway, awesome. And what's exciting for me is all these things bring up like, oh my gosh, I gotta go rewatch. I gotta go rewatch. I gotta go rewatch. And
Certainly.
so that's what's really cool about things like this for me. Um,
Yeah.
Now, getting back, it's my turn for my number two is, like Sophie said, episode three, Revenge of the Sith. And Sophie did an awesome job in filling in all the details. And there is one thing, there's one scene, as tragic as it is, that really, really strikes home why this is one of my favorites. Not because of the tragedy, but because of the
Hmm.
transformation. And I'm talking about Order 66.
Yeah.
And when when Palpatine sends Anakin over to the Jedi Temple and he destroys all those young Padawans, all those ones that are learning. And it's horrible. It is absolutely horrific to see. And you can see in that scene how he's transformed
Yeah.
from being, a fighting with himself about who he's supposed to be to how he's transforming into that dark side of himself. And
Yeah.
it's just absolutely horrible. But it is gripping cinema.
It
As
is.
tragic as it is, it's gripping. And then
And
the
it's
other,
an action that you will see ripples of for
yeah,
throughout the entire story.
yeah. And then also in the same movie at the end, when, like Sophie said, when the transformation is complete, there is that iconic scene where they're on the volcano planet, whatever that one is. I can't remember.
Mustafar.
Mustafar, thank you. And he's like, and Obi-Wan has the high ground, and everyone knows what's gonna happen. And he's like, I will get you. And he's like, I got the high ground. Don't be an idiot. Don't be stupid. And he was stupid. and he goes to attack him and he's sliced in half. And I'm like, and then the, I mean, they were brothers. They were so close. They worked together. They were Jedi's together. They taught each other. They were so close. And to see and hear the grief on Obi-Wan's in his voice, the grief of his friend turning to the dark side.
I could probably quote that entire scene from memory.
You probably can, and we'll skip on that today. But that is just
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking,
it is.
and that just goes to show how war just is devastating. Um, and
Mhm.
it's just like the loss, the waste, and you know what? That scene, that's what breaks Padme's heart, and that's why she
Mhm.
dies. She
Yeah.
dies of a broken heart. So it is a hard movie to watch, but it is a powerful movie. It's got a lot of things going for it that just build towards the next scenes, the next movies. So
Yeah.
that's why Revenge of the Sith is on my list. So
That's a good one.
thank you. Well, of course you said it. You chose it.
Let's be real, it's probably the best movie of the entire series.
I don't know. I don't know if I have a best movie.
But we both said it, so that's going
Well,
that
that's
it has
true.
two people saying that it's
That's
great, so
true.
that must make it the best.
You're right. That's true. Yeah. That's true. Okay. All right,
Yeah.
Sophie. What is the next one on your list?
We come to the antithesis. I think I used that word correctly. We
I
come
think
to
so.
the point where everything comes to a head.
Uh-huh.
Um, it is 19 years after our saga began, after Order 66 was executed, and we find ourselves on the desert planet of Tatooine, whose significance you wouldn't know unless you watched the prequels, because that's where Anakin was from. And we find ourselves with another Skywalker, and this one's name is Luke. And Luke is like, he's the main character, let's be real. This whole series was kind of written around him,
Uh-huh.
but it's a good thing that it was because he is a very cute little boy and he's very, very he has a lot of potential. And his biggest thing is he wants to be a pilot. So he goes, he gets these two droids. One of them insists on finding an Obi-Wan Kenobi, and who does it take him to? It takes him to Obi-Wan Kenobi, whom he didn't realize was Obi-Wan Kenobi because Obi-Wan Kenobi has been living in the desert under a different name for the past 19 years.
Yeah. Yeah, a really really hard thing here. His name is Ben Kenobi. I'm
And
like, okay, well, Kenobi. Oh, you think it's Ben Kenobi? Oh, yeah, and maybe it is. But I'm surprised that the Empire didn't find Ben Kenobi on Tatooine.
yeah, I'm a little bit surprised as well. Like maybe you could have, I don't know, scrambled your last name or something. That might have
Yeah,
helped a little more. But I
yeah,
mean, clearly he didn't need to because it worked.
true. It worked.
And so then, after finding this man who is basically Luke's godfather, who knows what has happened over the past 19 plus years, really the past 32 plus years,
Hmm.
basically, they go on this adventure and Luke discovers, hey, he's not just a pilot. He is also the son of one of the best pilots in the galaxy because that's what Anakin was known for. He goes on this whole journey of self-realization without even realizing it. And it all comes to a head with the plans that were secured in Rogue One, and who is the one that finishes it off, who saves the rebellion, but none other than the son of Darth Vader, who doesn't even know he's the son of Darth Vader,
Mm-hmm.
but he's
Luke
carrying,
Skywalker.
yeah, he's carrying out the legacy that his father was meant to carry out.
Yeah.
And it all just comes to a head. And this isn't even finished yet, but you at least get the feeling that this is a happy ending. Sure, there's more to come, but the past 19 years have finally paid off.
Yeah. There's a new hope.
There is.
Hence the title, right, Soph?
Yeah.
There is a new hope because all this time the Empire has been beating down everyone and
Everyone.
doing whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. And it looked like there was never going to be anything but the Empire. And then this little kid from a desert planet who just wants to go fly, who wants to learn more about himself, wants to get away from moisture farming or whatever his Uncle Owen did.
That's
Um,
exactly what he did.
he wants to see the world, in essence,
Hmm.
and they're like, we gotta shoot a torpedo into that, and he's like, shoot, we get womp rats that are smaller than that, and we get them. And I'm like, and it leads to a new hope. People
It does.
have discovered that there is hope in the galaxy once again. So
it
it is a good movie, and I mean, it's not
is.
it's not on my list, and they are
No,
all good movies. They
they
build
are.
after another, and like we were saying, the genius of George Lucas is coming up with the originals, but then working the rest of the magic, the rest of the story to make it work, and it feels seamless. It feels like it
It
was
does.
always meant to be this way.
It
It doesn't
absolutely
feel
does.
it does not feel like they added stuff on after the fact. Um,
For the most part.
so I on my last one, and I by the way, Sophie, I have two honorable mentions from because of scenes in different movies.
Okay.
They're not on my list, but I want to mention them after I'm done.
Okay.
But so if you have any that you want to, any scenes you want to mention, that'd be fine
Mm.
as well. But my last one is episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Tell me
We
more.
we are introduced to Rey.
Hmm.
We learn about her as a scavenger. We learn how she's waiting for her family to come back for her. We learn we meet Poe and we meet BB-8, this
We
adorable
meet
guy.
Finn.
We meet Finn and we learn about this new thing, and we find out that the Force had been dormant a little bit, except for Kylo Ren, but now it's kind of reawakening, and we learn that there is a connection to the Force with Rey.
Yeah.
But what's really fascinating to me is to see on Jakku, where she lives,
Yeah.
to see these star destroyers just crashed into the desert and just sitting there. And it's like the cinematography for those scenes when the movie first opened and she's scavenging for parts to sell to for food, basically, to
Yeah.
try and live, and and to see these huge star destroyers just crashed into a desert, just sitting there rotting. It's just phenomenal to me because
Yeah.
it just sets the scene for how the empire used to be the large and in charge, and look what happened. It's kind of like a symbolism to the Roman Empire. You know, the Roman Empire is no
Yeah.
more. All we have left are ruins, and those are kind of
Hmm.
like the ruins of the empire. So
Yeah.
to me, it's just that whole scenery and how it all opens back up after all those years, because what was it? It was, I want to say 1983 is when Return of the Jedi was produced and went to theater, and episode 7 was, hang on. Episode 7 was 2015. You're talking 32 years after the previous Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So there's a long time in cinema world, in the real world, of how long it had been. But to just see that, and to see that is just, it's just, oh, goosebumps.
And you want to know something, Daddy?
What's that?
Um, Episode 7 actually takes place about 34 ABY.
After the
Um,
Battle of Yavin.
yeah.
Yavin.
Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, takes place about 4 ABY. So there is that same 30-year time gap
Mm-hmm.
between these two events.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened since then.
There is. And one thing that wasn't fully eradicated with the defeat of the Empire
Yeah.
on the forest moon of Endor.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that wasn't eradicated is there's still very much a very poor segment of population throughout the galaxy. I
Yeah.
mean, there were people that were living they were just trying to survive.
Yeah. Didn't matter who was in power.
Yeah, it
It
didn't
barely
matter.
changed
Made
a
zero
thing.
difference for them. Made zero difference for them. So that's kind of tragic that all that time and it still
Yeah.
was a really hard world to live in, you know?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that was my third movie. Um, and again, it wasn't like ranking third best, second best, first best. It was just in the chronological sequence of how they came out in the timeline. But
Yeah.
um, but I do have a couple of scenes that I wanted to touch on because they are really cool. They are really cool.
I
Um,
agree.
One scene that I want to talk about is in the Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of the Phantom Menace is, to me, geared for kids. You know,
Oh
Jar Jar
yeah.
Binks and that whole segment, and Anakin sitting in a fighter and shooting at different things. It's like it just feels like it's a kid thing. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel really all that good. But anyway, that's not what I'm getting at. One of the scenes that really stands out to me though is the fight scene with Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. You talk about a choreographed fight scene that is almost second to none, and
Oh
that's what
yeah.
you get. That's what
Yeah.
you got. And the sadness of Qui-Gon Jinn falling in that battle, but the revenge of seeing Darth Maul killed, not killed, it depends on who you ask and what
He wasn't
happened.
killed by that.
Yeah,
It's canon. He was not
yeah.
killed.
But anyway, it looks like it from there though, and I don't remember seeing him later. But anyway, um, it is still is a one of the classic scenes in that movie is that fight scene, and the
Yeah.
music the music just goes right along with it. So it
Definitely.
just it just really gets things going.
And it
So
makes you wonder, if I may, I'm posing a lot of what ifs that will
hmm
never be talked about because obviously it would go against the canon, but What if Qui-Gon Jinn had survived?
Yeah.
What
Well,
do you think would have happened?
he would have continued with Anakin.
Certainly. And I think
And
with his
maybe.
teaching, Anakin may not have been turned to the dark side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but in a way, he did survive because of his
Force
learnings
ghosts.
in, yeah,
Yeah,
of the Force. So,
yeah.
but he survives in a different way. Anyway, so that's scene number one. Do you have a scene you want to mention?
I think for me, um, we of course need to go into The Empire Strikes Back because that's when Luke actually learns who
Mm-hmm.
Darth Vader is. And he
Yeah.
learns that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker and therefore his father. And that scene,
Is just, it
very
grabs
powerful.
you. It is very
It
powerful.
does. And you can see that
The
Luke
anguish.
is Luke is torn up by this.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also see Vader is like, this is my son. This is part of the reason why I even went down this path to begin with. And now Palpatine wants me to make him either join me or to kill him. And you can see he's also feeling that anguish. They're both absolutely torn up about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Because in many ways, this is a civil war, a galactic civil war,
it
and
is.
just like the American Civil War, you had brothers fighting against brothers.
Mm-hmm.
One,
Fathers fighting against sons.
yeah, and it's tragic.
It
It
is.
really is. So that is a great point to make about Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a similar point, and I am taking us all the way, and I think this is as powerful of moment in any movie, any of the Star Wars movies especially. I didn't really think about Luke and Darth Vader in that and how hard that is quite as much as you did because it didn't register as much with me. But in The Rise of Skywalker,
Mm-hmm.
C3PO is in every movie,
He is.
and he has he has times when he's very annoying, but he makes up for it at the end of the series in The Rise of Skywalker. He can't decipher the Sith language.
Without sacrificing his memory.
Yeah, because his programming will not allow it. But
Mm-mm.
they need to know what it is. And so they make the hard decision that they need to wipe his memory so they can learn what it says.
Yeah,
And there's the scene, you know where I'm going. There's the
I do.
scene where he looks and they're like,
What are you
3PO,
doing?
what are you doing? And he's like, I just wanted to take one last look at my friends. And I'm like, oh my God, I just start bawling.
Mm. And that's like
It is,
70 years worth of memory gone.
yeah. But fortunately, R2D2 had a backup somehow.
Thank goodness.
But you don't know that.
No, you don't.
And it's like, oh my gosh, it just guts you right there when he
And of
says
course,
that.
when you think about it, you're thinking only, oh my gosh, he's not going to remember Ray, Finn, and Poe. But then when you think harder about it, you're like, oh my gosh, he's not going to remember Anakin.
Yeah.
He's not going to remember Luke. Or, oy, oy, oy.
Oi, oi, oi. Such a great scene. Oh my gosh. Such a great scene. So,
And I think there's one more that I really want to highlight in detail,
uh-huh.
but there is one tiny detail from another scene that I want to highlight on. It's not explicitly covered, but if you go back and you watch the movies, you can see it, but I'm going to talk on that in just a minute. The other scene that I wanted to highlight on was Leia.
Hmm.
Throughout throughout The Empire Strikes Back, as well as Return of the Jedi, you hear Yoda and other characters saying, if Luke turns to the dark side, all is not lost, there is another. And you're like, who is this other? And then
And
it
it's
cuts to
Leia.
Leia, and you're like, why are we looking at Leia now? What is, does Luke have a brother? Does Luke have a sister? Where is this other Luke? And we don't realize until it's too late. Oh my gosh, Leia is the other.
Hmm.
Leia is Luke's sister, and then you have that brief period where you're like, oh my gosh, they're brother and sister and they kissed. That is gross. But
Yep.
thankfully they realize before it's too late. And I think, well, I know when Luke went on this whole adventure, he had no idea what he was in for. He just thought, oh,
None.
I'm gonna help the rebellion. I'm gonna be a pilot. It's gonna be great. He had no idea he was going to find his father. He had no idea he was going to find his sister. He had no idea about any of this because all he's known is his Uncle Owen, his aunt, his cousins. He had no idea that there was anything else waiting for him in this galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just shows how even this outcast little boy, this disconnected orphan from a planet in the outer rim, can be so closely intertwined with everything else in the galaxy. And that,
Hmm.
of course, is the work of the Force. I'm
Yeah.
confident of that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, that great series.
Yeah.
Great movies. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And I really like that we did this episode.
Yeah. And then as for that other detail that I was going to highlight on, at the end of uh, Attack of the Clones, we see
Hmm.
Anakin and Padme getting married by that lake on Naboo, and you see R2D2. R2D2 was Padme's droid, really, because he was in Padme's ship, and C3PO was Anakin's droid because he was with Anakin. Anakin was building him on Tatooine when he was a little boy.
Hmm.
During that wedding, they swap droids with each other, and it acts like wedding bands in a way, because
Oh.
in Revenge of the Sith, you always see Anakin with R2D2. You always see Padme with C3PO. And when Anakin goes to Mustafar, he leaves R2 behind. And it's almost like he's leaving his wedding band behind. He is leaving Padme behind. And R2D2 and C3PO, they go back with Padme, and Anakin does not see them again.
Yeah.
And that's just a detail that I wanted to highlight on.
It's so sad.
It is.
Awesome, though.
Yeah,
Great topic. Well done, Sophie.
thank you. Well done, Daddy.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to close that feature topic out, and it is now time for Sophie to tell us this day in Disney history for May 26th.
There was so much I could have chosen, but I felt like this one I had to go for because it's Star Wars.
Hmm.
Um, Once again, the day is May 26th. It is the year 2000.
So, a year before Sophie was born.
A year and a few, weeks.
Yeah.
The final Star Wars weekends of the 2000 season begins at Disney's MGM Studios, which is now known as Hollywood Studios. There are celebrity guests included in these, and they include Carrie Fisher, the one and only Princess Leia on Saturday and Sunday, and they include Jeremy Bulloch, the famous Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I have. That's what I chose. There were so many other things I could have talked about, like how Walt Disney officially copyrighted his first Mickey Mouse cartoon, Plane Crazy, on this day as well. I don't remember what year it was.
That's okay. This is a great one,
Yes.
and I think it's well worth it. So, let's see if I can stump the Soph. There's no Brenda to help, so.
Well, you know what, Daddy? I was practicing today because I got one of my coworkers to play this game with me while I was at work.
Oh, really? How did it go?
I was great at it.
So, did they just come up with a character on their own?
Yes.
And how did it go? Who did they choose, and what clues did they give you?
Well, we were going back and forth. She went with Kenai from Brother Bear, and her clues were this character is the youngest child, this character needs to learn to love, and this character spends a lot of time with animals.
Well, I would never have known that.
Anyway, hit me with your best shot.
Okay. This character is a town's most senior citizen.
Okay.
This character has more gumption than other characters half their age.
I have a feeling I know who it is, but you like it when I draw things out.
Okay. This character was married to another character that we never meet.
That we never meet?
Not except in a certain form. Yeah. This isn't this character that this one character is married to is not in the same state of being, if you will. So who
it's
do you think?
not Carl Fredricksen.
It is not Carl Fredricksen.
Okay, then, well, oh no. Hey, give me a minute.
How about one more clue, and then we'll see. This character, the person this character is married to, is immortalized in a statue. This is hard. I got her.
Wait. I know her. What's her name?
What's the movie?
The movie is Cars.
Okay.
And the husband is Stanley, and his wife is Lizzie.
Well done. Way to pull that one out. Grogu whispered it, didn't he?
No, he did not. He was stumped.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. Lizzie.
Thank you.
Lizzie is Radiator Springs' most senior citizen. Nevertheless, she's got more gumption than Cars half her age. With her mischievous sense of humor, occasional outspoken comments, and unreliable memory, many townsfolk think she's slightly bonkers. Lizzie was married to Stanley, who founded Radiator Springs in 1909.
Wow.
He is immortalized as a statue outside the fire station, and Lizzie visits it every day, remembering the good times they had together. Oh. And then her quote, which is so Lizzie: "You keep talking to yourself, people will think you're crazy."
Thanks for the tip. Huh? I wasn't talking to you.
Did you know, this is the last bit about this, Did you know Lizzie first drove into Radiator Springs in 1927? Although Stanley had to ask Lizzie out a few times before she actually said yes, the
Mm.
pair soon became inseparable.
Oh.
You
Well, I'm proud of myself. I would have been very
you
upset.
did well done, Sophie. Well done.
I would have been upset if I didn't get that.
But I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
So Brenda will be also. Well, it's time for a little bit of Walt, and I will read the quote. I found it, I based it on our topic, but of course, Star Wars and Walt didn't really go together back then
Shame.
because
I
he
think you
didn't.
would have loved it.
Oh, I know he would have loved it. But instead, I took us to Tomorrowland, and I wanted to give a quote about the future of tomorrow. So, Walt said, "A vista into a world of wondrous ideas, signifying man's achievements. A step into the future with predictions of constructive things to come." Walt Disney.
Oh,
I think that's cool. I think that fits
it does.
for what we were
Tomorrowland
talking about.
is great.
Futuristic. Yeah.
Yeah?
All right. Well, my friends, that wraps us up for this week. Coming up next week, I think because of our recording time, it'll still be just Sophie and I.
Yeah.
And then the week after that will be like when Brenda is back and ready to go. But
Okay.
next week, Sophie and I are going to do a regional destination podcast. We are going to talk about, since we're from North Carolina, we are going to talk about the best tourist destinations for North Carolina. We've been to a lot of places in this state. I think we can have a really great show. And if you're thinking of coming to North Carolina to see some of these, this would be a great episode for you to listen in on and to be able to enjoy and see and hear more about these places. And I'm going to try and do, Sophie, what I want to do is I want us to get our list, and I want to gather photos that we can share while we're talking about the destination.
I
that way
I have a great idea in mind.
Okay, so that will help with the presentation on YouTube for people that can see what we're talking about. But
I agree.
But that's next week. This week, Sophie and I and Grogu think and hope you all have a great week. We hope that there's a smile on your face, and we hope that our show brought a little smile to your face. And if you are having a rough week, I hope someone shares a smile with you. So remember to share a smile, because you never know who needs it and what impact it might have in their life. So until next week, I'm Mike, she's Sophie, he's Grogu, and we will
see you
on the road.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.